strong people? Kalle Beck here from StartingStrongman.com, and what an exciting day one we had at the Arnold Classic. It's been a crazy week. It was shut down for vendors, then it was and spectators. Then they were allowed back in. Then they weren't. Then they weren't. The government of Ohio said they're going to bring in the National Guard if they need to make sure people don't go. It's been wild. I didn't cover all of that because it changed every hour and even seemed different when people showed up. So it's a little bit weird of an Arnold with less of a crowd, and it's not a great way to test out the new Strongman area. They're not on a stage. They're in a little area with mats everywhere with grandstands all around it, which I actually liked. I wonder how overcrowded it would have got with full, everyone allowed into the Arnold, not just, friends, family, media, etc. But, there was still a pretty decent crowd. There's still a lot of people in Columbus. I don't know what this prevented. So to get onto the contest, we had 3 events for the pro men today. We had the trial by stone, which you had to press 2 stones, then you had to load 2 stones, and you had to do a Husafeld stone carry. You got points for doing each lift, and if you completed everything, you got a time allotment. And it was weird. It's like they gave a minute. Best time won if you did all of the events, and they gave when the first couple of people went, man, it was slow. I was like, whoa. Belsack went. He only got 1 point. He has a big hip injury he posted about on his Instagram. Hopefully that gets taken care of going forward. But yeah, he's not doing too hot in the contest, and just doesn't, he just can't really use his hips. But, he qualified fair and square, and he's out there competing. But I think they gave 1 minute to do each stone, and it made it dull to watch until the people went that just kind of blistered the course, which was only really 2 people. But I think if they do this event next year, I like the event, but it should be 90 seconds. I think the points thing, how they did it, makes sense. There's some strategy involved, and it helped. But yeah, I think 4 people finished the course, but it should be. I mean, it was just way too long. People finished it in over 2 minutes. At least 2 minutes should be the time limit. There's people waiting their time. Shivlikov also seems to have an ankle injury, and he couldn't really stabilize with the weight over his head doing the stone press, so he only got 1 point as well. Bobby Thompson got 2 points. But the big news was when Hafthor Bjornsson went, and he made it look easy. He got it in under a minute, 55.47. He was just a little slower, getting the stone in his lap, then to his chest, and then pressing. Every movement wasn't just quick. It was, he waits. He gets in his lap, he takes a second. He gets it to his chest, he waits a second. He goes to press, he waits a second, then he presses. And that was the difference between him and Kieliszkowski. And Kieliszkowski did it in 53.72, so just about not even 2 seconds faster than Hafthor. Hafthor was faster on the loading, and he got a little, and then Kieliszkowski slowed down a little bit on the Husafeld. It's hard to say who was faster on that, but Kieliszkowski won it on the stone press. His transitions in between implements were better as well. And that's kind of what I thought would happen. We saw this at World's Ultimate Strongman Dubai in 2018 when Hafthor just went and strict pressed everything, but then Kieliszkowski did it and did it faster. Maybe not as impressive looking, but he was faster, and fastest time wins. He got the 10 points, proving my prediction right that he would win event 1 with Hafthor taking second. And we had Rob Kearney, sneaky Rob Kearney, who dove for the line, almost missed it, ended up in third place on that. Very well done and strategic. JF Caron also had a good run with 2:19 finishing the event. Martins Lisis went out hot and really tried to get he was trying to beat Kielszkowski's time. He was going for first, and then he really bobbled the second stone press. It just looked like he just didn't quite get it and was a little too quick on it, and then just missed the Husafeld. Like he fell just short of the line, and it bounced over, and it kind of rolled over, and they didn't give him credit for that. So Novikov got 8 points, surpassing him, and that was those are the risks you have to take to either win or not. And Martins went for it, and sometimes you come up a little short, and he did in the trial by stone. But big event, one win for Mateusz Kielszkowski. Then into the bag over bar. It started at 55 pounds. Everyone was good at 55 pounds except for Belsac, but a lot of people went out at 55 pounds. We had Rob Kearney, Novikov, Pritchett, Bobby Thompson were all out at 55 pounds. Then pretty much everyone just stayed until 70, with Martins getting 70, which I think is actually big points for Martins. And then Kielszkowski got 75. JF stole some points there, also tying him with 75 pounds. And then, man, the best part about it all, like, Thor is just so dominant in this event. No one can touch him. He is the best weight, anything over bar person of all time. Highland Games, anything, he's the best now. But Shivakov made him work on one leg. He was throwing, he was driving with his hips, and then when he got to the point, like, he was driving through, and then when he got to the point when he had to, like, put pressure again on his leg, he'd lift it and throw the bar over, and his technique was great. And he ended up with big second point in there with an 85 pound bag. He made Thor go to 90. Thor decided not to go for a heavier weight, but yeah, he looked really good, and he ended up with Kielszkowski and JF Caron both tying. They split points in that, and Thor moved ahead into first overall. And also, it could end up being big with Shivakov coming in between him and Kielszkowski, because this contest, in my opinion, is down to Kielszkowski and Hafthor Bjornsson. Then we went on to event 3, the final event of day 1, the Wheel of Pain. There's a little bit different. They only were allowed to push off with their arms. They couldn't, like, drive their back into it, drive their shoulder into it. They couldn't drive into it with their neck. They couldn't walk backwards. They had to keep hands on the rope part. They couldn't go too far out to get better leverage. And, I mean, there was some pretty impressive performances. A lot of people kind of stuck right around that low 70s mark, including Belsac, Bobby Thompson, and Jerry Pritchett. But Rob Kearney got big points by just eclipsing them with 78.8 to get 6 points overall. Shivakov went out. He has an ankle injury, so it's not like he wasn't planning on doing the event. But in the Arnold, you don't get a 0. If you just go up and touch an implement and give some sort of effort, you get a point. So he went to push it, and he went, hey, it's actually kind of pushing. So he pushed it 47 feet and still got last place, but it was a great show of heart. Then we went, the big thing was Martins eclipsed Novikov getting 102 feet. He was the first person to get over 100 feet, and he looked good. He just kind of slowed down at the end, but he won this event last year, and he looked really good doing that. Then Kielszkowski went and just obliterated the Wheel of Pain. Last year he had, I think, a knee injury or a quad injury, and he wasn't able. I thought he was going to do really good in this event last year, and he didn't. And this year, with I guess he tore his lat a couple weeks ago, and he mentioned that in the trial by stone, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him. But with like a healthy quad or knee, whatever that injury was, he looked great and did 112 feet. He kept his arms out almost the entire time, and he sprinted the first 30 seconds. He really used those big glutes and calves and just looked super dynamic and athletic. And I loved his interview after the fact. He said, the person was interviewing him, and they're like, so what was how'd you do this? And he said, I have secret. Like, I have a small truck, put lots of weights, and I push uphill. Seemed to work. Then Hafthor Julius Bjornsson went, and he looked like he really slowed halfway through. He's so big for this contest. His power looked good at the beginning, but he definitely slowed down at the end, especially in the last 10 seconds. And he came up just 6 inches shy of Martins. So now Martins got in between Kielczkowski and Hafthor. So then going into day 2 tomorrow, we have the max deadlift, the elephant bar deadlift, the timber carry, and the strategic sear dumbbell. Kielczkowski has a half a point lead. It's highly unlikely he's still leading the event after the deadlift. So he has 27.5 points. Thor has 27. Martins is in third with 19.5. So there's a big separation between the top two and past that. Rob Kearney sitting in a good 4th place, just having a solid showing. He's just chipping away at points. He's maximizing his potential and his strengths. He's doing a lot like Shivlikov's done in the past. Like, he hasn't had a standout performance so far. He might tomorrow in the deadlift, but he's sneakily getting big points, and that, at the end of the day, it just matters if you get points. So he's sitting in 4th with 17.5. Just behind him is JF Karan with 16.5, who he got second to last in the Wheel of Pain, or else he'd probably be contending for a podium spot right now. But with getting second to last, only picking up 2 points in the Wheel of Pain, that's really hurt his chances at getting on the podium, which would be nice to see JF get up there. Novikov is tied with him with 16.5 points. Then Jerry Pritchett with 12. Shivlikov 11.5 with a bum ankle. Bobby Thompson with 9.5, which I look, judging by how he's holding himself and his wrap, looks like he has some sort of bicep injury. And Belsack has 7.5 points for last with his, of course, hip injury. So the bottom 3 are pretty banged up and have some injuries going on. That's it's a long season. It happens in Strongman. They're all preparing for a heavy show. So going into tomorrow, it really matters what Kielczkowski, how much damage control he can do on the deadlift. Can he probably can beat Belsack with his hip injury. Depending on, Bobby Thompson could outpull him. Shivlikov, I think even, if his ankle, he really can't put weight on it. It just seems as if he's going to be able to go through there. Novikov doesn't look 100%. Could he outpull Novikov? But Kielczkowski also said he has that lat injury, and I think that's going to come up the biggest in the deadlift. So I think Hafthor is going to have a pretty sizable lead after the deadlift. It just really depends on if how strategic Mateusz is with his jumps, and if anyone else tries big jumps and then they just kind of miss and he gets lucky and ends up 5th, 6th, it'll be a good event for Kielczkowski. And I think it really comes down to the timber carry. That's always a crapshoot event on who's going to do what. I think Kielczkowski looks fast. If his lat is affecting him too much is the only issue. They're going up the ramps, but contests can be lost on that. So I think this contest, Kielczkowski's going to have the sear dumbbell. He's going to win that event. Thor's probably going to win the deadlift event if we're going, just by most common sense. So who gets in between the most people in that? I think, Thor should be up there in the top 2, 3 in the dumbbell. So it really comes down to the timber carry. If Thor has a dominant performance in the timber carry, he's gonna win the Arnold again. But right now, he's half a point behind. Martins is sneaky. He could always pull it off. He might just win the timber carry. He might pull a big deadlift. And, we'll see what happens. He could move up there, but I really think it's a race between Hafthor and Mateusz Kielczkowski right now. There's some other stuff going on with the record breakers. Tom Stoltman absolutely annihilated the Atlas Stone world record, loading a 602-pound stone. The first man in history to load a 600-plus pound stone. He's the first person to do it. If you don't have any other proof that someone else has done it, then they haven't done it. A lot of people talking why Brian Shaw isn't here. He didn't qualify. He did the Arnold Europe. got, I believe, 6th, and then he got 2nd at the Arnold Santa Monica. Strongman is if they want to legitimize the sport, there needs to be clear-cut qualifiers. And, he's a little too injured a lot of the year and busy with filming. And then, he looked pretty good at Santa Monica, but he came up just a little bit short to Martins. I am positive that he was invited to do the stone. I think he's set on World's Strongest Man, and, if I don't think $5,000 is a lot of money to break a world record for him right now, all things considered. Probably makes more money just eating stuff on YouTube. But I think there's probably a point in time where he could load a 600-pound stone. I'd love to see video evidence that he has. But I think Tom Stoltman, he's young, he's massive, he's the king of stones right now. There's always eras, and the era right now is Tom Stoltman is the king of stones. He just broke through a milestone, being the first man to load a 600-pound plus stone. And he makes me think that 700 is possible. Like, that didn't even look that hard for him. He couldn't get too much extension. He kind of twisted to the side. But usually lapping a heavy stone like that is the hard part, and he just picked it up like I pick up my son. It was incredible. There was a sandbag over bar for the women for a record, and Hannah Lindsay just absolutely she did 2 attempts, and with 5 seconds left, she just ran up to the sandbag. It was a 40-pound sandbag, and threw it over the 15-foot bar. One of the most incredible things I've ever seen. You just don't see people... When someone does a throw or a record attempt and they miss it twice, and then they have 5 seconds and they try, that's always like a token. Like they're like, I might as well try. But she threw it over, and that just shows you how strong she is. To set that world record, which for the women now, the heaviest sandbag thrown over a 15-foot bar is 40 pounds. And she picked up I think it was $1,000 to do that. But other than that, it was a great sporting moment. There was a 180-pound dumbbell for reps. Donna Moore and Kristen Rhodes both tied, doing 1 rep apiece on that to raise the world record for the strong woman to 180 pounds, is the heaviest dumbbell ever pressed by a strong woman. Jessica Fitton had it just at lockout, and just wasn't quite there, as the juniors didn't give her the down. It was a great attempt. Super good time. I'm going to break down the strong woman, the pro strong woman show another day after it's all wrapped up. I just haven't seen as much video floating around as that, so I really need to look into it before I can do my full recap. But thanks for watching. I'm Kalle Beck. Hit subscribe. I'm just shy of 10,000. I'd really appreciate it if we get past that weekend, and I'll continue to bring you more strongman news.